Okay, so we have done this binomial theorem in P1 as well, okay, where this was like this: a plus b raised to power n, that is NC0. Just write this again so that you can recall it. And this is NC1 a raised to power n minus 1 b1 plus NC2 a raised to power n minus 2 b square, and so on. And then there was a general term NCR a raised to power n minus r and b raised to power r. And finally, there was a final term NCN a raised to power b0 b raised to power n. Now, there was a second version of this formula, this theorem, that was 1 plus x raised to power n. And that was 1 plus nc1, that is x plus nc2 x squared plus nc3 x cubed, and so on. Okay. Now, the problem is that when we go into the binomial P3, there is a big difference as compared to the binomial theorem of P1. In your P1, this n could be, this n was, this belonged to the positive integers only, okay? This n could only be a positive integer. Now in this P3 binomial, there will be just one version of this, that is 1 plus x raised to power n. And now this n can be anything. It can be a decimal, a positive fraction, a negative fraction. It can be anything, okay? So now when you try to apply the same formula onto this P3 expansion, now suppose you have something like, let's say you have 1 plus 2x raised to power, let's say, minus 2. And you want to expand this, okay? When you start using this formula, because it looks like same as 1 plus x to the power n, now what will happen when you start writing it? This is 1 plus minus 2c1 into 2x. Now I'll not be writing the next terms. Now please try this minus 2c1 from your calculators. There is a math error. Why don't you come forward, please? You can sit down here. Okay, so this minus 2c1 is not possible. Okay, you can't find this from the calculators. So now you will have to learn how to deal with this. I'll be explaining this. What is this NCR? Okay, now so look at this carefully and ask if there is any problem. Basically, this NCR is n factorial over n minus r factorial into r factorial. That is the formula. I'll explain this formula to you in your P5. Right now, you just note it down that NCR is basically n factorial over n minus r factorial into r factorial. Now, when you find 5C2, now 5C2 is basically 5 factorial over 5 minus 2 factorial times 2 factorial. Are you familiar with the factorial? Yes, factorial. Non-add math students, factorial. Okay, let me tell you. I should tell you. Now, factorial actually means when you have 5 factorial, again, you will find its detail, its reasons in your P5 because it is a part of your P5. Okay, so 5 factorial actually means 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. And just remember 0 factorial is 1. Okay, so we don't take it up to 0. Okay, when it is 4 factorial, so that is going to be 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. If it is 10 factorial, so that would be 10 into 9 into 8 up to 1. Okay, can you tell me quickly what would be 5 factorial over 4 factorial? Non-add math students. 5 factorial over 4 factorial without using a calculator. That will be 5 because 5 factorial is 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. And 4 factorial is 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. So all of these are cancelled together and you are left with 5. Some of you can also write the same as this 5 factorial is 5 into 4 factorial over 4 factorial. Yes, can I write 5 factorial as 5 into 4 factorial? Yes, so these 4 factorials are cancelled and you still get this as 5. What will be 6 factorial over 7 factorial? क्यों भाई non add maths बच्चों? That will be 1 over 7. This will be 1 over 7 because this is 6 factorial and you can write your 7 factorial as 7 into 6 factorial. So that is going to be 1 over 7. Now, can someone tell me uh, what is going to be uh, n factorial? Yes. What is n factorial? As you have 7 factorial, which is 7 into 6 into 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. So n factorial is going to be n into n minus 1 into n minus 2 into n minus 3, so on. You can just put a factorial over here. Okay? Now imagine if you have to simplify n factorial over n minus 1 factorial. So what should be the result of this simplification? N factorial over n minus 1 factorial. That will be n. Because you can write your n factorial, you will write as you were simplifying this 6 factorial over 7 factorial. This is 6 factorial over 7 into 6 factorial. So we are cancelling them. So you're left with 1 over 7. So if it is n factorial, which one is bigger, n factorial or n minus 1 factorial? N factorial. So you need to bring it down to the smaller one, n into n minus 1 factorial over n minus 1 factorial. So these are cancelled. So you have been left with n. Okay. Now if you want to go back to this formula, that we need to understand that how to do it without using a calculator. So you will see that now suppose this was your 5C2. Okay, so simplifying this 5C2 can be easy now for you. Now this is n factorial over n minus r factorial to r factorial. So 5C2 is going to be 5 factorial over 3 factorial into 2 factorial. Okay, I will write this 5 factorial as 5 into 4 into 3 factorial. So this is 3 factorial into 2 factorial is 2. So this is cancelled by this. 2 1s are, 2 2s are. So this is 5C2, which is 10. You can confirm this from your calculators that 5, if this 5C2 is really equal to 10. Okay. There are some factorials, some NCRs that you need to learn by heart. For example, if there is 5C5 or there is 10C10, there is 2C2 or there is NCN, they all result as 1. Okay, now let's see what is 5C5. So according to this formula, 5C5 is 5 factorial over 5 minus 5 factorial into 5 factorial. What is 0 factorial? 1. And this 5 factorial is cancelled with the 5 factorial. This is already 1. So 5C5 is 1. Okay. Again, you can learn this like 5C4, 6C5, 7C6, 8C7. Like 5C4 is 5. 6C5 is 6. 7C6 is 7. 8C7 is 8. And you can figure it out that why it is so. Okay. Now I want to take you to the formula now. The formula says that we have it like now this is the, I have to give you the formula for this 1 plus x raised to power n. Okay. Okay, guys, please be with me. Okay. Now we have to simplify this in a way so that we can use a calculator. I mean, we can do this without using a calculator. Okay. Now initially this is 1 plus nc1x plus nc2x squared. This is what we have from your P1. You have done this in your P1. Okay. अच्छा, अब बच्चों क्या है कि let's simplify this NC1. Can I write this NC1 as n factorial over n minus 1 factorial into 1 factorial? Keeping in mind that your NCR is n factorial over n minus r factorial into r factorial. Okay, so NC1 is n factorial over n minus 1 factorial times 1 factorial. Okay, if you simplify this, this can be written as n into n minus 1 factorial, and this is n minus 1 factorial. They are cancelled out. So NC1 is going to be equal to n. NC1 is going to be equal to n. So this is going to be written as 1 plus nx. So instead of NC1, I'm going to write n. ठीक है बच्चों? बेटा आप बिल्कुल गुमसुम बैठे हुए हो, समझ आ रही है? ओके, अब देखिए what is NC2? So there is n factorial over n minus 2 factorial into 2 factorial. Okay, what is n factorial over n minus 2 factorial? Can we simplify it as n into n minus 1 into n minus 2 factorial over n minus 2 factorial times 2? So n minus 2 factorial is cancelled with the n minus 2 factorial. And instead of this NC2, now you have n into n minus 1 over 2 factorial. Okay, after this, you can just write it as there is a sequence that follows n into n minus 1 into n minus 2 over 3 factorial x cube. If you want to write one more term, this will be n into n minus 1 into n minus 2 into n minus 3 over 4 factorial, and this is going to be x raised to power 4. So this is your binomial expansion formula for the P3. And we had to, what should I say, convert this into a form where we can find this expansion without using a calculator. Now suppose you have to expand using this binomial theorem. But let's say your question is, we have to expand this 1 plus x raised to power minus 1. I'm taking an easier example. 1 plus x raised to power minus 1. Now remember, there is a condition for this P3 expansion that this first term should always be 1. The first term should always be 1. Okay? So you have to make it 1. We're just going to be onto the questions where you will have to make it 1. Okay? This is 1 plus x is from minus 1. So let's expand this. This is 1. You must have questions if you don't understand. 1 plus n into x plus n into n minus 1 over 2 factorial into x squared plus n into n minus 1 into n minus 2 over 3 factorial into x cubed. And this goes on. This goes on up to infinity. There is no limit to this expansion. Okay, so normally in such expansions, we are required to find the first 2, 3, or 4 terms. We're clearly told that find the first 3 terms in this expansion. Okay, so yes, beta. What? Okay, I'll do this in the next question. Okay, I can't change it right now. Okay, so just excuse me for just for this one. Okay, so this is going to be 1 minus x, and if you I just write it as plus minus 1 into minus 2 over 2 x squared plus, please show these steps, okay, minus 2 into minus 3. Don't be hasty in such questions. Over 6 x cubed and so on. Okay, what is the numerator here? Minus 1 into minus 2 is 2. So all of this is cancelled out. Okay. This is minus 1 into minus 2 into minus 3 is going to be minus 6. So they are all cancelled. Just minus 1 is left here. Okay. So finally, this expansion is going to be 1 minus x plus x squared and minus x cubed. And do mention this is plus going on. Okay.